I just want to say that, like, if you are benefiting from smoking weed right now and it's really benefiting you, then sure, go ahead. Who am I to say don't smoke that, or don't vaporize that, or don't eat that? You know, if it's benefiting your life, keep doing it. But if you think life would be better if you weren't relying on a substance, or if you didn't have to smoke it or consume it every day, if you're not a big fan of that burnout, just know you don't have to have it. What's good, Fruit family? Today I want to talk to you about my views on marijuana. Do I smoke it? Did I smoke it? Do I suggest people smoke it? Do I think other raw vegans smoke it? Let's get into all those things right here.
Fruitarian, living lifestyle, learn about the benefits, and start now. Eating from the vine and feeling divine. Fruit living with nature's design.
First things first, I definitely used to smoke it. I think I started smoking it around age 15. I stopped around age 19. Right around the time I was getting into Fruitarianism, I also stopped smoking it. I got into vaporizing it a bit, then I started taking the edibles, like the THC pills and the CBD pills, and I just stopped it altogether. I definitely still have consumed it sometimes in the past, since being raw vegan, since being fruitarian, but it sucked every single time. Maybe not 4 or 5 times since being raw vegan. I've hated it every single time. But before, it's so strange, because before, it was my life. Like, weed was my life. I identified with weed. I wanted to change my initials from TJC, Ted James Carr, to THC. I wanted to change my middle name to Herb, Theodore Herb Carr, Ted Herb Carr, just so I could have the same initials as as THC, man, the active component of weed. I loved it so much I wanted to name myself after it. And I didn't go to sleep a single night without it. I smoked it every single night right before bed, a little bowl. And one time actually, I hid my bowl. I was super stoned. I thought I heard my parents upstairs, coming downstairs, so I quickly hid my bowl somewhere. The next night, I go to smoke. I was like, I can't find my bowl. I was just freaking out. I couldn't find my bowl. How am I supposed to sleep? I can't find my bowl. Then I started sniffing, and I could smell that dank smell of this old bowl, or the old bowl, but the bowl from last night. I could just smell that, like that roach smell, you know? Sniff, sniff, sniff. And it's my drawer, and in my drawer, I pull up my drawer, I'm like, it's not in my drawer, I don't see it anywhere. Keep sniffing, it's in a little sock. I put it in a little sock. I sniffed it out through my sock. So my senses became so heightened because I needed the drug so much. I was so dependent on the drug to fall asleep. And one day I tried to quit weed altogether. I was like, you know what? I hate being so reliant on this drug. Let's try and get rid of it. Let's try and get off it altogether. And I just went cold turkey like that. It didn't work. Didn't sleep that night. I remember watching beatboxing videos all day long or all night long, I should say, all morning long on YouTube. Videos like Rocks for Loops and videos like ZD. When I first getting into beatboxing, I watched that all night long. Went to school the next day, hadn't slept. Went back the next night into my room again, and I was like, I'm not gonna smoke it, man. I went one night, I'm not gonna smoke it again. This night I should for sure fall asleep. But no, man, my stress level was so high because I just quit cold turkey like that, and I couldn't sleep. So I went 2 days, absolutely no sleep. The third night I ended up falling asleep, I think around like 4 AM or something. Just brutal, man, hardly getting any sleep. Walking around like a zombie at school, felt like I was in Fight Club. Didn't want to tell anyone that I was in Fight Club, so I didn't say anything. Didn't want to tell anyone I was quitting weed, so I didn't say anything. But after that third night, I was like, screw this, man. Like, I've pat myself on the back, I've gone to 3 nights, I'm just gonna go back to smoking it again. So later that night, little bowl, oh, immediately just conked out right to sleep. Super high. And how did I get into smoking weed? Well, I happened to get into smoking weed when I was watching the OC. You know, Marissa Cooper, Seth, and Ryan, and Summer. You know, I watched the OC quite a bit. And one night in the OC, I remember Seth was smoking weed in his room.
I found something in your drawer.
You're not mad?
Oh no, I'm mad. I'm livid. Not about the pot, because, I mean, whatever, it's pot, right? And while Marissa and I were hotboxing Luke's car, you were at home making a manger for Captain Oates out of Lincoln Logs, so you were a late bloomer, and I get that.
Actually, this wasn't when I started getting into weed, but this is when I started getting to smoking weed, like, privately and secretly and in my room. Seth's, like, had some weed in his closet or something, and he pulled it out and smoked it, and I was watching that, and I got so inspired. Later that night, I wanted to think, hey, is it possible for me to smoke weed in my room? So I went back to my room, and I had mono at the time. This was probably like 18 years old. I had the mono disease, or monovirus or something, not a disease, it's a virus. And I was so itchy, like everything was so itchy because I was on antibiotics. You're not supposed to take antibiotics when you're in mono. You get all sorts of crazy side effects. But anyways, I was taking antibiotics, and I was so itchy. So then I just smoked some weed, boom, the itch went away like that, and then I fell asleep. So I totally understand why some people who have chronic pain, like chronic back pain or chronic headaches or chronic like aching bones or something, they take marijuana instead of taking Advil, or instead of taking like T3s or, you know, some other strong medical painkillers, they smoke marijuana instead. I totally understand, I totally get that. That's definitely what got me into smoking on a regular basis, and for me, even when I was like super nauseous, like I'd be hungover, for example, I'd be in bed hungover, the thought of eating like a bagel or pizza would make me want to vomit, and I'd roll out of bed, smoke a little weed, immediately go upstairs, have a bagel, have some pizza. So it would take away nausea as well. So I totally understand people with cancer, they're constantly nauseous, they just smoke a little weed, the cancer or the nausea goes away. But even some people, they say they're reversing cancer by taking like THC oil or CBD oils as well. It shrinks the tumor size, and I reckon that's because the stress level goes down, and when the stress level goes down, the body can heal itself a lot easier. But I don't think, for me as a raw vegan these days, that I need to rely on a substance for anything. I'd rather rely on myself. I'd rather rely on fresh air, some deep breathing exercises like to calm myself down like that. I'd rather rely on meditation. I'd rather rely on exercise. I'd rather rely on conversations with friends. I'd rather rely on sweet, fresh, ripe, ripe, juicy fruit. I'd rather rely on creative expression like I'm doing here on YouTube. I just don't want to rely on a substance. Not only that, but once you go raw vegan, once your body gets really clean, like once you start cleaning up your body, you can't handle any filth, and smoke is filth. And it puts your body into such a high state for like those 20-30 minutes when you're stoned, and afterwards you have the extreme come down, and I hated feeling that come down as well. So not only the smoke, but just the burnout phase, the come down is so strong. I don't like it at all. The other thing is that I don't have any issues that I'd like to overcome with weed anymore. All the issues that I once used weed to overcome, I no longer have. As a raw vegan too, when I was getting into raw veganism and fruitarianism, I was definitely smoking it a bit at the beginning, just old habits, they trickle off. And then I started instead of smoking it, I started vaporizing it. So I just bought a vaporizer, and I would vaporize it every night before bed. And then even that, I would just slowly wean myself off. You could turn the temperature down, and each night I would turn the temperature down a little bit on the vaporizer, so it'd become less and less like smoke and more just like pure like air. And eventually it became like a placebo at the temperature, on such a low temperature that it was just like inhaling the flavor of the weed without actually getting much out of it. But I still like that placebo affected me greatly, and I was able to fall asleep with that. So even to this day, when I'm really sick in the back of a car seat on a road trip or something, I can just pretend to be stoned. I can just pretend to be like, yeah, just so stoned, and like the nausea goes away, and I'm just like really like not there, not really with it, and I just feel really relaxed. And it's just like remembering how the weed made me feel. I can tune back into that now. So I think drugs are drugs. I think plant medicines, these plants can be teachers, and they teach you how you're able to feel without them. So you don't need them to feel that way. So I'm sure we can all, if you've ever gotten drunk, you can act drunk now. You know what it feels like to be drunk and stupid, and oh my god, ridiculous. Like you just act drunk, you just whatever, just exaggerate it, totally exaggerating there. And if you've been stoned, I'm sure you can act stoned for a bit, if you like get a hypnotist to say like you are now stoned. But if you've been stoned before, you can totally just get into it, man. You can just be fucking baked. It's so baked right now. You can just get into it. And same with like mushrooms, or same with acid, LSD. I'm not sure about ayahuasca. I've never done ayahuasca. Perhaps if I've done ayahuasca, I'd be able to at least feel like I'm coming up off it or coming down off it, perhaps. But I can definitely do it with mushrooms, with LSD, even ecstasy. I'm taking ecstasy quite a bit in the past, MDMA. I can definitely remember what it feels like to be high on that, and I can tune into that. I can tap into that, remembering that memory, and feel what it feels like to have everything feel so good, and just be so in love with everything that you're constantly on the verge of crying out of gratitude, because life is just so beautiful. So in that moment, just there, those past 10 seconds, I felt like I'm like coming up on E-Man. Like it just feels so good. Like I'm rubbing my leg here. Like this is just, oh, it feels so good. But I don't need to take ecstasy to feel that way. So these plants or these medicines, they teach our body what we're capable of without them. That's why placebos work so well. Placebos work so well that even for something like a B12 deficiency, if you take a group of people with a B12 deficiency and start injecting them with placebo B12 and start giving them placebo B12 sublinguals, they start taking that, the B12 levels skyrocket. The B12 levels skyrocket. They're not even taking the B12. And same goes for pain meds, and same goes for knee surgery. If someone's knee is so messed up that they're limping around and they're like 70 years old or something, and their knee is just bunged up, you take them into the room, you put them to sleep, so they're legit asleep, you make a little cut there, and then you sew it up, but you don't do anything to the knee. You just make the cut, and then sew it up. So it makes it look like they had the knee surgery. When they wake up, you tell them they had the surgery, they start walking around like they're fine. Because they totally believe it. A belief is so powerful. Belief is so powerful that you can get high without even smoking weed. Belief is so powerful that you can be relaxed without even taking a muscle relaxant. Belief is so powerful that you can heal your body if you believe that you're healing right now. So I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't like the come down. I don't like the smoke effect. I don't like the drastic change in perception. Yeah, weed can make you very, very creative, but again, I don't need to rely on a substance to make me very, very creative. Plus, I love how I feel right now. Whenever I smoked weed, I got excited to change my mental state, to change my perceptions, to change my state of mind. Now, I don't want that at all. I've experienced that too many times on a raw vegan diet. So I'm raw vegan, and this is my state of mind. I'm really sharp, I'm really lazy. I can make YouTube videos. I can reply to emails. I don't really like replying to emails, but I can reply to emails right now. I couldn't do that when I was stoned, man. When I was stoned, it's just like baked, man. Just like thinking some deep, deep, deep thoughts. And something really interesting that I experienced a lot of growing up was, yeah, I'd get so high, I'd come up with these just amazing ideas, like these world-changing, life-changing ideas I'm sure many of you guys have, and you write them down on paper, or you like record yourself doing a voice chat of them or a video of them, and then when you come back to sober land or to reality when you're not high anymore, those ideas sound so stupid, or you have no idea how that idea is ever going to come into reality, or you just lose the inspiration altogether to make that idea a reality. I remember being so stoned and just having these brilliant startup ideas, and then coming back to reality and thinking like, that's either a really dumb idea, or like that's a cool idea but I'm not inspired to do that anymore, or it's like I have no idea how to do that and it's just I don't really care enough to figure it out. So it's just like you're just too high, you're too high. So I understand too when people say, like, oh, Ted, I can't eat a fruitarian diet because it's not grounding enough, like I'm just too high in the clouds. Smoking weed gets me way obnoxiously high that like nothing's even like feasible. And when I'm on a fruitarian diet, I'm definitely like, this is at a higher vibe than I would be if I ate cooked food. But I don't think cooked food is grounding. I think cooked food is just like suppressing. I think cooked food is just like a bit of a downer. Cooked food just makes me like, just lowers my vibe. It's just the life force isn't there. When you eat raw food, you're like, and when you eat cooked food, you're like, but when you smoke weed, you're like, and then boom, you just drop so hard, and the burnout is so long. And yeah, I don't like it. So I don't associate weed with getting high, I associate weed with getting low, because you spend more time in the burnout phase than you actually do in the high phase. A lot more time in the burnout phase. You spend like 10 times longer in the burnout phase than you do when you're actually stoned. Some people say the reason they eat cooked food is because fruit just makes them feel too high. But if fruit makes you feel high and you eat fruit all the time, then yeah, you're gonna stay nice and high. It's great. So when people say that they feel high on durian or they feel high on these mangoes or papayas, it's because the fruit is likely super high quality, and that's okay to have that high feeling when you're eating fruit, because it's just a sustainable high. It's full of nutrients and, you know, necessary calories and vitamins and minerals and things like that. So anyways, these are my views on marijuana. I could talk a lot about it. Again, I spent a good 4 or 5 years of my life consuming it every single day. I identified with it drastically. I got Christmas gifts from it, man. My aunt and uncle would buy me Christmas gifts. Like, they bought like this magazine for me called Harry Pothead and the Philosopher's Stoned. The Philosopher's Stoned. Harry Pothead and the Philosopher's Stoned. And yeah, they just, you know, I smoked weed with everyone, really. But not anymore. I don't like that anymore. My identity changed. My identity has changed many times in my life, and at the moment I identify with being a raw vegan fruitarian. I identify with being someone who's super into healthy lifestyle and living, and eating fresh raw living juicy fruits, and you know, exercising and sleeping early and meditating and promoting good content online. But who knows, maybe in 5-6 years I won't be promoting this anymore. Maybe I'll have an identity shift. Just like a few months ago, maybe what, 3-4 months ago, I quit triathlon. Before that, I identified as a triathlete. I'm not into that anymore. I'm not into competing, I'm into creating. I don't want to compete, I want to cooperate with people. I think we can all be super duper fit, super duper healthy and happy and really dang fit without competing with one another. And I just saw the business for what it is, you know. I saw the business for what it is. It's a triathlon's a business for sure. It doesn't need to be. You can go in and compete in some triathlons without actually, you can go in and complete triathlons without actually competing in them. That's cool, that's totally different. But I just found that totally unnecessary. I'd rather just not do that. But anyways, the point of that, I'll make a video on why I quit triathlon later. I just wanted to mention that my identity shifts throughout my life, and at one point it identified as a pot smoker, and now it identifies as somebody who's super duper healthy and doesn't want to consume any of that pot stuff. But if you're at a stage in your life where you're consuming pot right now, just know that you can change your identity so that you no longer want it at all, or that you're totally inspired to not have it. You're totally inspired to live a clean life. I just want to say that, like, if you are benefiting from smoking weed right now, and it's really benefiting you, then sure, go ahead. Who am I to say don't smoke that, or don't vaporize that, or don't eat that? You know, if it's benefiting your life, keep doing it. But if you think that life is better if you think life would be better if you weren't relying on a substance, or if you didn't have to smoke it or consume it every day, if you're not a big fan of that burnout, just know you don't have to have it. There are ways out. There are definitely ways out. Just focus on life that you want to live, and you'll realize that weed is not even a part of that life anymore. There are ways to feel higher than the way you feel when you smoke weed. So anyways guys, that's it. I could talk lots about this, but I gotta go. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Be sure to subscribe, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate that. And comment below if you used to be a pot smoker. Say I used to be a pot smoker, but not anymore. That'd be great. Peace out.